Rainollon here. Today is another build showcase, and it's the Tenet Detron Thermagnetic Shells build. So let us immediately start. So let's start by me telling you that this only works with Saryn. You can make it work with Lavos, Zata's Whisper, and Sight 9, but it's not even close when it comes to Saryn. And it's very janky, and it's kind of a weaker Sobek Acid Shells setup, but it works. So let us immediately start. First things first, I'm going to spawn level 200, Steel Path 4 Kimberly Group dudes, spawn them right in. I'm going to do all the magic that Saryn does as a buffer. Toxin Lash, Rhino's Roar, Venom Dose, shoot the Butcher once, wait a second, turn around, and everything is dead, like Acid Shells. So why do I call this thing a weaker Acid Shells? You're going to see very soon, it has a much smaller AoE explosion and a much weaker base damage, so it kind of scales worse than Acid Shells. And yeah, the Tenet Detron, the weapon itself, it really isn't that good secondary at all, but I kind of made it usable with Saryn by using the very exclusive mod called the Thermagnetic Shells. So let us immediately start. Let's start with the mods. Time for me to explain to you everything here. So the main mod, Thermagnetic Shells, it's exclusive mod for Detron. Enemies explode on death, dealing 80 magnetic damage, which is much smaller than Acid Shells, plus 40% of enemies maximum health in a 6-meter radius, which is also smaller than Acid Shells. Acid Shells AoE explosion is 15, while this is 6, which is much smaller. So that's the Thermagnetic Shells. I'm also using Pistol Elementalist, which gives you 90% status damage, which is a multiplicative damage increase, and Toxin Lash has a guaranteed chance to proc Toxin, so this is going to make our Toxin damage do even more damage while triple dipping, and also giving you reload speed. Pistol Pestilence gives you the flat Toxin damage that will make Toxin Lash scale more, and Status Chance, which kind of helps, I guess. Petrogen Rounds, more flat Toxin damage for Toxin Lash. Get on is Diffusion and Lethal Torrent for fire rate and multi-shot. This only exists just to kill enemies fast, to proc the Thermagnetic Shell Explosion, to chain react with Toxin Lash. The Argus Seeker gives you 9% status duration. This makes status procs like Toxin or any other status effect that we're going to proc last longer. With Saryn's passive and this, it makes status effects last twice as longer than ever, which is quite nice. And Expel Orcan, which is a multiplicative damage increase against the Orcan. If you fight the Orcan, you're going to use this. If you fight the Ganir, you use the Expel of the Ganir. If you fight the Corpus, you use the Corpus one. Right now I'm going to show you against the Orcans, so I'm going to use this one. It's another multiplicative which will double dip into triple dip, and it also dips and just cycles, and it's just weird. It just gives me a lot of damage. And yeah, these are the mods. For the Axis Weapon Adapted Slot mods, I will not recommend anything. All of this stuff here is just bad. Maybe Lethal Momentum for projectile speed. This weapon is a projectile weapon, so this will make the projectile speed faster. For the Arcane, the only Arcane that works, Secondary Encumber. So you can use Deadhead and Merciless just to kill enemies fast to trigger the Thermagnetic Shells, but if you want to scale the Thermagnetic Shells, it doesn't work with Merciless and Deadhead. It doesn't do anything. It doesn't even boost anything, it just exists. So you can use it to kill enemies fast to trigger this, or you can use Secondary Encumber, which is the only Arcane that works. So what this does is on status effect, there's a 24% chance to trigger a second random status effect. So you wonder, how does this work? So Toxin Lash is a 100% chance to proc Toxin when you shoot enemies. When you kill an enemy, it explodes in a 6-meter radius, doing damage and also proccing Toxin. That Toxin is a status effect, so we have another 24% chance to proc a random status effect, which it could be gas damage, which will help a lot, or heat damage, or slash damage, or viral. It's going to help us a decent amount. Not all the time, but it helps. It's the only one that works. So that's the Arcane. Passive, ignore it, it isn't good. It's a Tenet weapon, so you have to kill your Tenet sister. And the element I chose is Toxin, another flat Toxin that's just to scale the Toxin damage even more and giving us more power on clearing. For the stats, fire rate is good for this weapon type. Multi-shot is quite high, magazine is quite small. Maximum ammo and ammo from pickup is really good. Reload speed is really good. Accuracy is medium, it's a shotgun, it's a semi-automatic. Riven display is horrible. Fall off is ridiculously bad. Critical chance is below average, not that good. Crit multi is average, fine-ish I guess. And slash chance isn't really good. The total damage on this weapon for a shotgun with a horrible fall off and these stats here, not that good, I will say. And the outfire, which just removes all the entire magazine and has the exact same stats. It's not good. Like, this weapon isn't really good. This is a MR fodder. I think the only purpose for this weapon to exist is, thankfully, this weapon has an exclusive mod like acid shells called the Thermagnetic shells that makes something work with this weapon, but it just isn't good. So those are the stats, the passive, the mods, the arcane. Time for me to explain Saryn. So why Saryn? Toxin Lash. I think that's more than enough for you to understand. Toxin Lash gives you guaranteed toxin, enemy you kill, the thermagnetic shells will explode in 6 meter radius. Every enemy that gets damaged has a 100% chance to proc toxin from Toxin Lash. We scale the toxin from Toxin Lash with all the mods in this, with all the multiplicatives. We scale the Toxin Lash with Venom Dose, which is the augment for your first ability, giving you 259% extra damage. And we also scale it with Rainollon's Roar. So there's a lot of double dipping, triple dipping, quad dipping, dipping. It's like just a lot of just a huge amount of damage just to make this thing clear and do solid overall clear, I will say. So that's pretty much it here. The most important thing is have Toxin Lash on, have the augment, and have Rainollon Roar if you want to have that satisfying clear. So that's it here. Time for me to show you in game yet again. So yet again, spawn the Arcane dudes, level 200 steel path. Just use Toxin Lash, just Toxin Lash. Shoot this guy. Kill him. You can see it does some damage and it slowly starts spreading and starts not doing well. I think acid shells will already kill all of this with just Toxin Lash. You can see it just isn't really that impressive. So we kind of have to scale it even more. Venom Dose and Rainollon's Roar. So I'm going to yet again respawn these guys, spawn them in, shoot the Butcher. And as you can see, it's much better. It scales much better and you will do pretty solid, ridiculous damage. Now I'm going to spawn different factions to see how it feels against other factions. So if you kill the corrupted enemies really fast, that means the Ganir is also going to die really fast as well. So Ganir, shoot the Butcher here, spread it. And yeah, that's against the Ganir. Corpus. And I'm not even using the expel mod for Corpus Ganir Infested. But yeah, it's clearing nonetheless. So boom, boom. Against the Corpus, it's just beautiful. They hate Toxin. It bypasses their shield. And now against the Infested. Same thing. Yep. Instantaneous. Now I'm going to show you against Eximus units. So I'm going to kill all of these guys. Spawn Heavy Gunner, Eximus units, level 200 Steel Path. Boom, boom. Shoot this guy. And it clears, which is quite ridiculous. If these guys died this fast with this setup, it's solid, I will say. It's usable, but if you don't like Acid Shell so bad, and you like some kind of other primary, you can utilize this. But if you think that Acid Shell Sobek is better, of course it is. Just use that over this. This isn't really that good. It's just a weaker Acid Shell Sobek setup. It just works. I just want to create a build video of this that exists. I think not a lot of people made this or ever talked about it, so I did. I did test it with Lavos Zata's Whisper. It isn't good. And I did test it with Sight 9 and his second ability with Thermal Sunder. And it also really isn't good. And the only one that can make this setup work is Saryn, of course. And yeah, that's pretty much it. That's the Tenet Detron Thermagnetic shells build. I hope you enjoyed the build somehow. And thank you everybody for watching. Leave a like, sub, and see you all next time. Thank you. Goodbye.